Watch this.
Talk of a foreign military facility in Idaho has stirred up confusion and a bit of concern. We'll break down what's real, what's rumor, and what it could mean for Mountain Home, Idaho. A freak accident left an Idaho man paralyzed, but not powerless. We'll show you how he's using groundbreaking technology and why he says it feels a little like science fiction. Such a classic news term, but there's no better way to describe it, so here we go. There are more questions than answers after a deal was announced to host Qatari military personnel in Idaho. Secretary of War Pete Hegseth announced the agreement during a meeting with Qatar's Deputy Prime Minister and Minister of Defense on Friday. There has been debate about what was or was not said, so let's all just watch the clip to begin the segment.
Today we're signing a letter of acceptance to build a Qatari Emiri Air Force facility at the Mountain Home Air Base in Idaho. The location will be host a contingent of Qatari F-15s and pilots to enhance our combined training, increase lethality, interoperability. It's just another example of our partnership.
We further welcome today's signing of the letter of acceptance establishing a Qatari Emir Air Force facility at Mountain Home Air Base in Idaho.
The announcement and the way Hegseth himself phrased it caused a notable reaction from across the political spectrum, and that includes allies and supporters of President Trump's administration. At the end of the day on Friday, though, Hegseth wrote on social media that there was an important clarification, saying, quote, "The United States military has a long-standing partnership with Qatar, including today's announced cooperation with the F-15 aircraft. However, to be clear, Qatar will not have their own base in the United States, nor anything like a base. We control the existing base like we do with all partners." Vice President of the United States, J.D. Vance, was asked about this on Fox News back on Sunday morning.
What is the function of this Qatar facility? People are wondering, is this an air base? What is Qatar going to be developing in Idaho?
Yeah, I saw some reporting about this, Maria. I actually talked to the Secretary of War, Pete Hegseth, this morning. This is largely a fake story. We continue to have with countries that we work with. We have relationships where, sometimes their pilots work on our bases, sometimes that we train together, sometimes we work together in other ways. The reporting that somehow there's going to be a Qatari base on United States soil, that's just not true. We are continuing to work with a number of our Arab friends to ensure that we are able to enforce this peace, but we're not going to let a foreign country have an actual base on American soil. So there was a bit of misreporting on that, as there often is, as you know, Maria.
Sheesh. Well, still, Idaho leaders have lots of questions about this. In fact, 8 state lawmakers, all Republicans, sent a letter on Sunday to Idaho's congressional delegation in D.C. They say they are deeply concerned by the agreement with Qatar to dedicate an Air Force facility at Mountain Home Air Force Base. Specifically, they write, quote, "The rise of radical Islamic terrorism remains a serious concern for many Americans. This agreement does little to ease those fears," end quote. They also expressed concerns about coordination with Idaho leaders, arguing that there are direct impacts on their constituents, and they are asking for a formal briefing, which includes a list of 12 questions. So the announcement itself on Friday certainly came to a surprise to many people, but maybe this shouldn't have been a surprise. Sources tell me that this concept was on the table during the first Trump administration, and this whole thing didn't happen overnight, obviously. Conversations likely began sometime around the summer of 2017 when the Trump administration approved the sale of $12 billion worth of American F-15 jets. In fact, there's a 338-page draft report into this whole idea in 2021 and a final report on the idea on the project. It was published in March 2022. It's a very long report, one that technically looks at the environmental assessment of the Qatar Air Force partnership based in Idaho, and it says, quote, "No significant impacts to the human or natural environment or surrounding communities." That was the final finding after 500 pages of really details. And the report has a lot of details of the project and the mission, but I want to be very clear. Nobody has confirmed that this is the current plan. In fact, the federal furloughs seem to be impacting access to that specific information. So we can talk about what was studied for years and the findings, but there is a good chance that some things have changed since the 2022 report into the concept. And information is tricky on this one so far, but there are some nuggets to give a general idea here. First, the plan would permanently station 12 Qatar-owned F-15QA aircrafts and about 300 additional personnel at the southern Idaho base beginning in fiscal year 2024, this final report said, and that would be with the possibility of extending the operations beyond the initial 10-year period. And clearly, it didn't happen on that timeline or a year past that. But the Air Force described the proposal as part of a long-standing U.S. policy to provide training to foreign military forces from allied nations, which they say is a practice dating back to World War II. And Qatar's government, they specifically asked that its F-15 squadron be co-located with an existing U.S. Air Force and that they have access to airspace with terrain similar to the Middle East, and they want to use a facility that can minimize cost and construction demands. Idaho's Mountain Home Air Force Base won the bid. Others were considered, including Seymour Johnson Air Force Base in North Carolina. And a key fact here, as you can read, under this plan, Qatar's 12 F-15 QA jets, they would be permanently based at Mountain Home and operated as a separate but integrated squadron under the 366 Fighter Wing Command's operational control. So long story short, yes, controlled by America's Air Force. And the report outlines both temporary and permanent infrastructure that would be needed for this. Interim arrangements covering the first 5 years rely on existing facilities for maintenance and housing. And then longer-term projects include new flight line hangars, squadron operation buildings, maintenance areas, simulator facilities, parking, and a Qatari Air Force Community Center. Again, all this is subject to change. And one may wonder, though, if this is a situation where Qatar agreed to a location and a partnership site and something they had never seen before. Maybe they couldn't find it on a map. Well, it turns out that's not the case. March 14th, 2023, Mountain Home Air Force Base hosted a contingent from Qatar, including top Qatari military leaders. A U.S. Air Force photo gallery has the story of the day, and Chief of Staff of the Qatar Armed Forces, Lieutenant General Jassim El Mani, he toured the base in Mountain Home and met key players. And captions on the 2023 photos read, quote, "A final decision has not been made on the operation with Qatar at Mountain Home Air Force Base, but potential benefits include increased interoperability and enhanced regional security cooperation activities." So, only time will tell what happens next, but there appears to be major work into a blueprint for a partnership with Qatar, based right here in the state of Idaho. Near the small town of Buhl, Idaho, something big is happening. There's a piece of technology that is evolving and may even change what's possible for many people. As Hunter Funk learned, Patient 6 can do things never thought possible, thanks to a chip created by Elon Musk that goes directly into the brain.
Some people spend their lives chasing comfort, but for Rob Greiner, he chased everything else.
Definitely I grew up on that kind of little funny farm. Horses, we had some cows. And then middle school, we raised pigs every year, chickens. I think there's a chicken out there right now, doing something, but.
A true Idaho kid who grew up on the Payette River with mud on his boots and adventure in his veins.
I've just done a lot of extreme sports. I like extreme water sports, jumping off cliffs, yeah, all that stuff.
That wild streak never left him. Commercial salmon fishing in Alaska, cliff jumping in the Payette, dog training in Boise. If it looked risky or fun, Rob was in.
I tried my best to live, my best life. But I guess 33 years was enough of, doing that on two legs.
2 days after Christmas, Robbie Greiner was in a car crash that now has left him paralyzed.
The 32-year-old was on his way to visit his son in Nampa when just outside of Buhl, his dad says his car slid on black ice down a ravine and rolled, breaking his neck.
I mean, yeah, I've been in a couple wrecks and done all this, but I slipped on some black ice and, this happened, but.
Two nurses driving right behind him stopped, held his neck steady, and kept him alive before help could arrive.
Yeah, I remember waking up and I couldn't talk, so I had a feeding tube. The surgeons telling everybody that You know, I'm never gonna be able to talk again, eat again, drink water again, breathe on my own. I was miserable. I was so miserable.
After 11 days in the ICU, he was flown to the Craig Nielsen Rehabilitation Center at the University of Utah.
That team, and me being really stubborn and obnoxiously stubborn, somehow we got me off of the trach.
There he learned to breathe again, move his shoulders, and reclaim a piece of independence.
Where I was learning about this stuff, I was like, there's gotta be something I can do just in the meantime to help other people, you know, some kind of trial.
That drive pushed him towards something no one else in Idaho had ever done, a new adventure, but this time inside his own brain.
Imagine the joy of connecting with your loved ones, browsing the web, or even playing games using only your thoughts. This is made possible by placing a small, cosmetically invisible implant in a part of your brain that plans movements.
It connects thought to technology. After waiting 2 years to qualify, in May he took a video call, and in June he had surgery.
They, take a part of your skull out. They have an actual robot that helps them do the surgery. As far as I know, unlike other companies that have tried it, this robot actually can avoid blood vessels in your motor cortex. And so with me, they were able to get 127 strands.
Rob became patient number 6 in the world to receive a Neuralink brain chip.
It is pretty bonkers, especially for, going back to being like an Idahoan and raising pigs when I was a kid. And doing this is really kind of, for me, it's super cyberpunk. You're looking at my live right now, my real time what my brain's doing. So if I move like my arm up and down, you can see slight differences in some of this stuff. Like just imagining moving my arm or my hand up and down. But no, there's no eye tracking because it's connected to my motor cortex. Yeah. So I got associated kind of with me imagining my hands on a mouse. And I've, assigned my pinky to be like a right click.
Now he meets with Neuralink engineers weekly, giving feedback to improve the system.
And it's just exciting where they're going with it. And I'm really glad I can be a part of it. I can't control an exoskeleton yet or anything, but I just know with the program or, the science behind it, even though it's new, I know it's doing something.
But Rob isn't in it for himself. He's in it for the next patient.
Every time I meet with them every week, I'm like, you guys get me hooked up with any kind of experiment you got going on. And secretly, even if it's like a backdoor experiment, you just tuck me in there and I'll do it. But no one's doing that, but that's the mentality I do have, where I just want to be as much help as I can.
He jokes about wanting to control robots someday, or even walk again with the help of technology. But until then, his mission is simple: live boldly, help others, and prove that even when life stands still, adventure doesn't have to. I never thought in a million years anybody's gonna be putting chips in their brain. Before I got hurt, it would be like up there with like lobotomy. I'm like, what are you guys doing with whose brain? But I guess I don't know, my little state I'm in right now, I feel like it's perfect. So, like if you're adventurous and you really want to kind of be a part of something, it might not just cure what you got going on at the moment, but if you want to be a part of something, Neuralink is the way to go.
And Rob wants people to know this is out there. So if you're feeling inspired, you can do it by just signing up on a little list on the Neuralink website. He says this could also eventually help people who are blind, can't speak, and of course more as the technology evolves. Like artificial intelligence, well, so does the chip. He's also taking options for nicknames.
Oh.
Yeah, he liked ours, which was Robert, because now he's, kind of Robert the robot in a
Yeah,
way, which
very
is kind
good.
of cool. So.
Okay, so with any technology, there seems to be a battery life. Does he have to, I guess, charge himself?
Yes, this is one of our favorite parts too, and he loves it. But there's a charger, kind of like your iPhone charger where it's magnetic. He just sticks it to his head, charges it up, and he's good to go, which is kind of fun.
Unbelievable story, and
Yeah.
you can find it at ktvb.com. I'm sure plenty of people want to share this story.
Yeah.
Great story there, Hunter. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Joe.
We'll be right back. Well, depending on what calendar you glance at today, it's either the federal holiday Columbus Day, a day to honor Christopher Columbus for discovering the New World and his Italian heritage, or it's Indigenous Peoples Day, which is how it's known officially in the state of Idaho, at least since 2019, when Governor Brad Little signed a proclamation declaring the second Monday of October as Indigenous Peoples Day. And back in 2022, I spoke with Daniel Spalding, a radio broadcaster and member of the Nez Perce tribe, about what the holiday means to Native Americans.
Broadcasting from the heart of the Nimiipuu Nation on KIYE 88.7 FM Kamai.
This is Daniel Spalding, one of the voices of KIYE Radio, owned and operated by the Nez Perce tribe.
I believe we're the only tribal station out of Idaho. We're pretty unique.
In recent years, Spalding has found incredible community support of his broadcast from the studio in Kamai, Idaho. Broadcasts are popular across the reservation and far into the Nez Perce Clearwater National Forest.
The little saying for the radio KIYE is the voice of the Nimiipuu. And so people have kind of coined that name on me because I'm doing a lot of the PSAs and a lot of the different announcements.
That responsibility is a privilege, Spalding says, and something he is passionate about. He works hard to draw attention to Indigenous people and their representation in media.
When it comes to media, especially in the area that I'm in, a lot of times our people in Indigenous people are not always painted in the right light. So sometimes there's a lot of untruthful, I guess, paintings of us. And so being able to be on our own radio station and highlight our own stories and be in control of our own narrative, it's something that I don't take lightly, and it's very important to me.
The federal holiday Columbus Day is recognized nationwide, and in Idaho, the day is also recognized as Indigenous People Day, a day that is supposed to recognize the truth of Native American history, stories and tales that are often whitewashed, forgotten, or ignored.
For me, days like today are important because you're acknowledging the truth in the history, and a lot of times, the truth is not always put in history books. They're not just, these stories like Pocahontas or Indian in the Cupboard, these kind of cheesy movies that aren't truthful. So I for me, it's what I've made very kind of almost my mission is just to highlight positive representation in media.
Spalding says recent efforts to change that are clear and impactful.
new TV shows finally. Like there's Rutherford Falls on the streaming service Peacock, and then we have Reservation Dogs, which is on Hulu, and there's even Dark Wind. I mean, this year we're finally seeing a lot of representation in media that it's like it's positive, and it's in a way where we're not just this like thing of the past. Growing up, I didn't see a lot of representation in anything for me. So now being an adult and seeing it, it gives me a huge sense of pride, and also it makes me feel good knowing that my nieces and nephews now can grow up and see themselves in media in a positive way, whereas, you know, my siblings and I, or my cousins, like we all didn't have that.
The message to Indigenous people, especially young ones, is important, Spalding says. It's a message many generations missed, something people like Spalding are now trying to change.
Wow, these kids come from similar backgrounds, similar upbringings, and if they can do it, then I can do it too.
And the voice of the Nimiipuu Nation is still going strong. Daniel's still there hosting his program, keeping the members of his tribe informed. 30 states and 3 U.S. territories recognize Columbus Day, while 17 states and Washington, D.C. celebrate Indigenous Peoples Day.
Certainly a fall-like feel to the air. Today, finally, the sunshine is breaking through, though we have yet to crack 60 degrees in Boise. We're close, 59 right now. Same for Twin Falls. We're just in the 40s in McCall, where skies are finally starting to clear after some light rain showers earlier this afternoon. We will stay dry in the Boise area through the rest of your Monday evening. Those temperatures holding steady right around 60 for the next couple of hours, and then sliding into the 50s and 40s overnight tonight. Looking ahead to tomorrow, tomorrow. I do think we'll wake up to some light rain in the Boise area early on, so grab the umbrella as you head out the door tomorrow. You'll likely need the windshield wipers on that drive into work early. Most of the rain clears out by dinner time tomorrow. We'll still be up around 60 degrees tomorrow, likely low 60s across the Treasure Valley tomorrow, and then we'll start seeing more rain enter the picture on Wednesday. Higher chances off and on throughout the day on Wednesday, along with temperatures dipping back down into the 50s. Good news is we dry out, warm up, and start seeing more sunshine starting on Thursday.
Commentron, 7,000. Here we are. Okay, this person writes, how can it be possible that 15 jets will have no environmental impact, noise, jet fuel, exhaust? So it's not that they won't have any, it's just no significant difference in what's going on right now. Good question, though. So if that happens, it will be allowed to happen. Okay, B&B says the agreement should have been discussed with the actual constituents in Idaho. I believe that most of us don't want it here and don't have a stake in it being here. And we're hearing that from elected officials and the people of Idaho wanting to know why they weren't consulted. This person says Department of Defense, not war. That is Pete Hegseth's preferred adjective or pronoun. It's what he wants to be called, so I guess we'll respect that.
Continue with us and watch free now on the KTVB Plus app everywhere you stream.